problem with poverty in the community, right? Now, I want to do a little experiment, because what I want to wonder is, what would it be like to read some passages in Scripture and not to over-spiritualize them? What if we thought of some familiar passages as actually being about material and economic conditions? Again, not because we can't spiritualize or shouldn't spiritualize, but I want us to practice those muscles because I think they're underdeveloped in the church. Reading a text and wondering, is this actually about people experiencing poverty? So here's the experiment I want to run. I want to read part of Psalm 22. Psalm 22, once I start it, it'll sound familiar to you. It's a lament, and it might be familiar to you because Jesus utters the first line of this lament on the cross. So you encounter it liturgically every Good Friday, typically. But I want you to think for a moment, what if this were a prayer prayed by someone experiencing poverty? Okay, I'm not saying that it is necessarily a prayer prayed by someone experiencing poverty, but it could be, and I want to try it out. And to help, I'm going to actually show some pictures of people experiencing poverty. So I want you to think about the pictures and relate it to the words I'm reading. Make sense? Just give it a try, and then I'm going to debrief the experience. Okay. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer. By night, but I find no rest. I am a worm and not a human, scorned by others and despised by the people. All who see me mock at me. They make mouths at me. They shake their heads. Commit your cause to the Lord. Let him deliver. Let him rescue the one in whom he delights. Do not be far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no one to help. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within my breast. My mouth is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death. For dogs are all around me. A company of evildoers encircles me. My hands and feet have shriveled. I count all of my bones. They stare and they gloat over me. They divide my clothes amongst themselves, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, do not be far away. O my help, come quickly to my aid. Deliver my soul from the sword, my life from the power of the dog. Save me from the mouth of the lion, for he did not despise or abhor the affliction of the afflicted. He did not hide his face from me, but heard when I cried to him. So let me ask, what was that experience like? Seeing those images as you heard those words and imagined them potentially as a prayer of the poor. What did you notice? What resonated? What was hard? What questions surfaced? Just process that a little bit. What was that like for you?
Painful.
It was painful. Yeah. It's uncomfortable. Guilt. Yeah. Yeah. Please.
I keep thinking this. It keeps popping into my mind. It just reminds me of the Emperor's Clothes
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
where people don't want to notice,
Don't want to notice.
and they just walk by
Yeah.
and everything's perfect in
Yeah.
their own world.
Yeah.
They just don't want to see it.
Yeah. Even as someone, that person is praying that prayer, maybe shouting that prayer. That's what feels, someone said guilty, convicting too, right? Yeah. Thank you. Please.
And this may be the choices, but I'm
Yeah.
really aware that all of the poor people have had to make themselves visible.
Yes.
And
Yes.
typically,
Yeah.
especially in Atlanta, sometimes you have to go behind
Yeah.
the main street.
Yeah.
And that's where you see sometimes even a tent city.
Yeah.
Or very poor housing. I was struck by the fact
Yeah.
that these were poor people
Yeah.
who were making a public announcement.
Yeah. And we're struggling to be seen. I think the hardest one for me is this one. Just the glamour versus the poverty, but also just that he's sort of in the background and not seen at all. But I think you could say all of these people are not seen in one way or another.
I spend a lot of time
Yeah.
downtown, but
Yeah.
I think we have law enforcement that
Yeah.
removes these people.
It's very intentional. Things look the way they look on purpose. You'll remember probably from in preparation for the Atlanta Olympics that people experiencing poverty were literally moved out of the city to Asheville, I think, if memory serves.
Give the tickets
Yeah.
on one-way
On
tickets
Greyhound or something.
On the Greyhound
Yeah.
to go anywhere
Yeah.
they wanted to go. But it was a one-way
Yep.
ticket out of Atlanta.
So did that solve poverty in Atlanta? No. It just kept it out of view, right? Let's go back here, please.
I get very intentional when I'm trying to teach my children.
Yeah.
And living in Atlanta, I was reading an article about how you interact with the unhoused when you're
Yeah.
walking into a store and someone asks you for money.
Yeah.
And so often people walk past because they, like the pictures, they are busy or they have all they don't have any money for, they don't want to interact. And in that article, I learned that just because you don't give anyone money if you don't want to, you still look at them.
Yeah.
You still connect with them. You still say hello to them.
Yeah.
And I want to teach my children very intentionally that they are people that deserve our attention.
Yeah.
And just because you don't have to give them money, but you
Right.
do have to treat them as your equal and say hello.
Yeah.
And acknowledge them.
Yeah, recognize their humanity. The what you're saying is so beautiful. It reminds me of the line, let me see, where is it?
And yet,
I am a worm and not a human. Right? What you're saying is that feeling that materializes in the other person when they're not seen and they're not addressed. Yes, sorry, I cut someone off. I apologize.
I'm convicted. We had
Yeah.
an unhoused, fairly obviously unhoused gentleman in our congregation this morning.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, I looked away.
Yeah.
Was like, oh God, please don't look in my face.
Yeah.
If you look in my face, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
engage.
But
Yeah.
it's fear. I think when
Yeah.
it's, you're doing the right thing, you're teaching your children
Yeah.
not to be fearful.
Yeah.
And a lot of our emotion, you know, like when you think about things that you either face or don't face, it's out of fear.
Yeah.
Fear of the unknown, fear
Yep.
of what might happen,
Yep.
fear of I might be asked for something. You know, I just feel like that's the emotion, is the fear.
Yeah. You're so
I don't
right.
want to sit here and feel like, oh yeah, I'm down with you on this.
Yeah.
And I am,
Yeah.
but I'm also convicted. I'm
Sure.
sorry. I
Yeah.
didn't live up to
Yeah.
the standard that we're discussing.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your vulnerability. I think if we're all being honest, we all probably feel some of that, if not a lot of that, if not exactly the same. And the point of this isn't to make you all feel guilty or to say like, hey, I've got all this figured out and you don't, so get on board. No, we're trying to open up space to see differently, to have eyes to see this reality of Scripture and what it invites us to, and then to think together about how then do we make some difference? What does it look like to show up in a different way, in a way that brings more healing and more hope and more shalom to our community? So that's where this isn't just let's point out the problem. We want to work towards some solutions, but this is part of it. We should feel convicted in some ways, right? And so Carmi said I could give homework. Thank you for that. So your homework, she said I wasn't going to do it, but she recommended it. So your homework is just read the whole Old Testament and wonder if it's about poverty. Or if you're busy this week, just read all 150 Psalms and do like we did here, right? Or just do a little, I mean, I'm joking, right, of course. But it's worth running these experiments, even in miniature, and just saying, what would it be like if I read this as if it were a prayer a poor person prayed, or a prayer about poverty? What if I didn't over-spiritualize? What would that trigger in me? What would, in the best sense of trigger, what would it convict me of? What would it open my eyes to? What questions would I start asking about myself, my neighborhood, these scriptures, God, the call of faith in our lives? I don't have the answers to that, but I'm inviting you to ask some of those questions as we encounter these texts. Let me get one more comment and then I want to move us on. Please.
Yes, it's also about my own judgment of
Yeah.
poor people.
Yeah.
I tell myself, oh, they'll just spend it on drugs.
Right.
Or
Right.
they don't deserve it, they're lazy. It perpetuates itself.
Yeah.
If I give,
That's right.
am I giving in the right way to the right people?
Mm-hmm.
And I have a house in a very homeless and low-income area, which I rent.
Yeah.
And for 12 or 14 years, I get to know my renters,
Yeah.
and I hear multiple stories, some of which substantiate
Yeah.
to some of that.
Right.
But mostly, I understand, because I always get to know these people. Everybody else rents and pay the check and that's it. Oh, no. I invariably sit down in their living room,
Yeah.
get to know them.
Yeah.
And it's multiple faceted. But it also is me. And the fact that we worship the wealthy.
Yeah.
They have made it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
there's the flip side
Yep.
too.
Yep.
The athletes and the inventors in Silicon Valley, are they really that much above
Yeah.
the homeless person?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. But that, again, is such an important perspective. I'm so grateful for it. It's amazing how much knowing people can shatter our stereotypes and put people in 3 dimensions. That's a huge part of this. Let me give you one more. Remember, my spiritual gift is to prepare more content than I possibly have time to teach. And I'm exercising that gift this morning. You're seeing it on display. So I'm going to give you 3 of the 4 things. We'll get the 4th thing next week. So here's a third point. I think we tend to forget that Jesus was poor and probably homeless. This is a famous picture of Jesus by an artist, mid-20th century artist named Warner Salmon. For all I know, there might be one of these around this building. I know there was in the Catholic Church I grew up in, outside of Philadelphia. We know, friends, that Jesus was not white, right? Can we just get past that? We know Jesus did not have blue eyes, did not have blonde hair, and was not white. We're beginning to make progress on that. But you know where we've been slower to make progress on? Is Jesus' economic status, right? We've recognized that, oh, gosh, a Palestinian man in the 1st century CE would have had dark skin and different hair and certainly not blue eyes, but we forget that Jesus wasn't middle class, right? The scriptures everywhere talk about Jesus as someone who is experiencing poverty. He lived in Galilee, a region that was wrecked with taxes and burdens. We'll talk more about this later in the course, about why virtually everyone in the Galilee was poor. Furthermore, there were the disciples, Nathanael. When asked about Jesus coming from Nazareth, he said, "Can anything good come of Nazareth?" Right? Because he knew what people from Nazareth were like. He knew, to go to those stereotypes we just named, he knew that people from Nazareth were almost by definition poor and homeless. I'll tell you why that was the case a little bit later in the course. In one place it says that Jesus had no place to lay his head. And that's not because he was an itinerant preacher, although we could think of him that way. He probably didn't have a home, right? So this is another imagination thing. Yes, of course, we should not imagine Jesus as blonde hair and blue-eyed and white-skinned. He looks more like this. This, by the way, is from Popular Mechanics. You know those like artist renditions? They did one of them on like a 1st century Jewish man from Palestine, and that's what they came up with. We don't know that Jesus looked like that, but he looked way more like this than he looked like that. But what if we did the same thing with Jesus' economic status? And so we imagine Jesus in the Gospels not just teaching to the poor or teaching about poverty, but teaching and doing all those things as someone who is experiencing poverty. I'll leave you with this image. There's a Canadian sculptor named Timothy Schmaltz who took this very seriously. And he came up with a sculpture of Jesus And you can see it in various places, including in Capernaum. And it looked like this. This was Schmaltz's portrait of Jesus. It's a huddled man on a bench, hood over his head to keep warm. In fact, it's hard to tell that it's Jesus except for one detail. Do you see it? The feet have holes in them. Friends, Jesus looked like this at many points in his life. Maybe every night Jesus looked like this. So here's another thought experiment. What if that hung in churches rather than an empty cross? What if that was what we wore as a pendant along a chain? What if that is what people were getting tattooed on their arms? What if that was on the eye black of NFL players? Who would start coming to church if that's the symbol of the church in Jesus? Who would stop coming to church if that's what they saw hung in the chancel? Friends, it's another thought experiment to run. What would sound different? What would be different? How would we read the New Testament differently if we understood that Jesus was poor? The early church got that. And the invitation of this course is to take a step in that direction. We need to get out of here because I'm 2 minutes over. I apologize for that. Thank you, first of all, for the great engagement. We're going to pick up on this strand. We'll keep going next week. I'll give you the fourth reason why I think there's a gap between us and the early church. And then we're going to do Econ 101, Ancient Israel Edition. And I want to unpack some things about how poverty worked, its causes, and its solutions in the ancient world. So we'll turn to that next week.
First, I want to thank Ryan for the gift of his time today.
Of course.
For being here and for inviting us into some difficult conversations. I want to thank you all, too, for your vulnerability, for your willingness to be open about how hard it is for us to have these sorts of conversations, and to commit to being in this together and to wondering together about what God might be calling us to in this season of our life together. I also want to name, you all may have noticed that a few among us excused themselves about 5 minutes ago, and that's because St. Luke's today was offering a course for people who are wanting to educate themselves about the upcoming legislative session. And wanting to just name that within the Epiphany community there is a group that has formed, a social justice action group. So you may feel convicted in some of what we're talking about today. If in your life taking action means advocacy and participating in the legislative process, there is a group of people in this parish who are committed to doing that work. There's information about how you can sign up to be part of that. So we hope that if that is speaking to you, if there's something stirring in you about that, please know that that's something that this parish offers, and there's a group that would love to include you. I also just want to say how wonderful it is that we have the ability to bring Ryan in, and we can continue these conversations. We should continue these conversations. So I just want to say my door is always open because God is at work in each one of us, calling us deeper into relationship with Him and all that God has created. So I just want to say that I'm here as a companion to you on your journey with all of this. And so I'm looking forward to the conversations that we have in community and hearing about what's stirring in you as we move forward. So thank you to Ryan, and next week, same time, same place. Hope you'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here. I love